Before we get into it, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit that bell icon so that you can be notified every time we put a financial tip video out or every time we put any video out that's going to help you understand how money works so that you can make it work for you. 31 million people have filed for unemployment in the last 6 weeks in America. 4 million people, 3.8 to be exact, have filed for unemployment in the past week. You've got a lot of people out there that are wondering, what is my next step income-wise? I'm in a situation where I lost my job through no fault of my own. I've got 31 million other people I've got to compete with to get another job. And right now, the country is not hiring for obvious reasons. Okay, so this is what could be a very dark time for a lot of Americans. So I want to take this opportunity to walk you through a time in my life where I had a tremendous business failure and how that failure was turned into an opportunity, okay? And I want to say from the onset that my wife, who is a tremendous business person, okay, she just has a head for business. She, as you will see, is extremely instrumental in helping me to see that this was not the end of the world, but that this was a situation that we could get on top of and solve and come out the other side and just do gangbusters. So here's how it went. In the mid-2000s, my cousin, who owned a trucking company, he passed away suddenly. And unbeknownst to me, he had left me the equipment for his trucking company. So overnight, I was in the long-haul trucking business. Now, my wife and I had been talking about me coming out of corporate America. We'd been talking about that for like a year prior to this point. She had already left corporate America years prior and was running our real estate business. So she was handling the representation of people who wanted to purchase or sell real estate, as well as being the front person for our real estate investment endeavors. So she was out there finding the deals, and we would evaluate them and whatnot together. But that's what she was doing. And I was still a lobbyist for Verizon Communications. So this trucking company got dropped in my lap. So we thought, you know what? Now's the time. We've been talking about me leaving. Let's go ahead and pull the trigger. So we did. And guess what? Immediately, I started going gangbusters with that trucking company. I ended up getting contracts with Exide Batteries, Unilever, who makes soaps and things like that, Smuckers, the jelly people, Phillips Seafood. We ran a lot of frozen seafood in our reefer trailers for Phillips. Now, reefer trailers, let me just stop you right there. Reefer trailers are industry parlance for refrigerated trailers. So we were able to keep the foods frozen for Phillips, not trailers full of marijuana. And then we also had a contract with a paper company. They would ship these gigantic rolls of paper for newspapers. It would be newsprint. Okay, so we were going gangbusters. We had those contracts. Those were our major contracts. And then we were able to also get some others. We had smaller companies, in addition to the ones I mentioned. We had our truck drivers who were making a good wage. They had to, because trucking is a competitive business when you're trying to find qualified men and women who are going to be able to be trusted behind the wheel of an 80,000-pound vehicle when fully loaded. And we had some great drivers. My brothers were among them. So we're going gangbusters, and then the first thing happened that was beyond my control. Gas prices went up. So diesel fuel on our expense line went from here to here. So, okay, manageable. It's a risk of being in that type of business. That was not something that was going to put us out of business, although we did realize less profits. Our expenses went up, so we realized less profits in the short term. After that, though, something happened that was unforeseen. We had a gigantic recession in 2007, starting in 2007. And wouldn't you know it, a lot of people got laid off and they stopped purchasing at the rate that they were purchasing. They stopped purchasing Phillips Seafood, Smucker's jellies and jams, Unilever products, and Exide batteries. Okay, so it hit us again. Okay, so we got the gas prices, and now we've got less freight that we're hauling. Okay, so we're making less money. So I see that I see where this is going, and I'm starting to worry about our business, the ability for us to stay in business, and I'm starting to worry about our employees because, quite frankly, these men, this is how they fed their families. Okay, through our trucking company. So I took that extremely seriously. And there were actually times throughout this period where the recession happened that we were still in operation, but I wouldn't take any profits for the business, okay? Because we had to pay those guys. We had to make sure they had their OIDA fees paid. That was a resource group for truckers that offered some benefits. In any event, we had to make sure those things were done for the truckers. And so there were times with, like many business owners out there, we paid our people and we didn't get anything, okay, for weeks. That happened many weeks throughout the recessionary period of our trucking experience. So my wife came to me one day and she basically said, this is untenable. Now, here's the beauty of it. My wife is not the type of person that's just going to come to you and say, we can't do this anymore and scream and holler about it. No, she comes with ideas. And she had several. She said, look, we're going to need to get either bigger so that we can exploit economies of scale, or we're going to need to get a lot smaller and maybe even go out of business so that we won't be as exposed to the extreme shocks that we're experiencing right now as a really small mid-tier little trucking company. The other thing that you have to take into account with the trucking business, it's maintenance heavy. Now, with us, we made absolutely sure that any issue that we had with the truck between its regular maintenance schedule was hopped on immediately. We've got 80,000 pounds of freight out there on the highways and byways of America, and we were damned set on being an extremely safe operator, which we were. But that costs money too. So she said, look, unless we can exercise these economies of scale that come with being bigger, and maybe we can go out and purchase some more equipment now that we're in a recession, we might be able to pick up on it, on the cheap, or we got to get smaller and maybe go out of business. So this was just the last thing I wanted to hear in terms of going out of business, because I fell in love with the industry. I admit, I got emotionally involved, and that's one of the things that I caution you. Don't get emotionally involved with an investment, okay? And I was emotionally involved because, again, this is a company that my close family member had left to me. So I had some sentimentality there that was unwarranted, okay? Because this was a business, and he would have been the first to tell me that. So by and by, I thought, you know what? She's right. We've got to go out of business. And that's what we did. But the way we went out of business, my wife again came in and she came up with an idea to sell off all of the equipment separately. Okay, so she sold the trailers, she sold the tractors. In fact, one of our drivers ended up buying his tractor that he drove around in, and he's still in operation today. My brothers, they went on to get other jobs in the trucking industry. We didn't just go out of business. We didn't just invite them in one day and say, hey guys, sorry, we're out of business. We decreased our level of activity, and we told them in advance, this is what's going to happen. So you guys, if you have to leave now in order to find work or whatever, if you get work and you want to leave, fine. We had just some great guys. A couple of guys say, hey man, it's been fun, but I got to go ahead and take this other job. Cool. Truckers are in demand. They can do that. My brother and a guy named Telly, they stuck with us to the end. Telly bought his tractor. And my brother is now a very successful driver. And the other one, he has a dump truck that he drives. So they're doing good. So it all worked out, okay, for everybody, including me and my wife. We were able to get rid of the equipment, and we also were able to learn some valuable lessons. So we learned that, sometimes there are things that are out of our control. But we can't afford to panic. We got to sit back and we got to figure out what is in our control and then use those things in order to thrive and get back on track. So that's exactly what we did. And we went on to found another business which was more conducive to our real estate business. I'll tell you about that in another video. Because we did get a question of what the hell do you guys do to make money? So I'll answer that in a subsequent video. But yeah, we were able to pull it out. And when you're out there, expect the unexpected, okay? Business can throw you some curveballs. And whether you're working for someone or you are an entrepreneur, business owner, the world's going to throw you some curveballs. We got a big one that came at us with this COVID-19 thing, okay, and the disruption that it has caused to the economy. But if you're out there and you're wondering, how do I make it now? What do I do? I've lost my income. I've lost my livelihood. Listen, I've been there. I lost that trucking company. And when we did, of course, we lost the money that we were making with that trucking company. So we had to retool. That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to figure out if you wanted to go into business doing something, maybe now's the time. I always preach that you've got to have multiple sources of income. Set yourself up where you're able to derive income from several sources. And that way, if you are laid off or if a business fails, then you still have some money coming in. Thank God we had the real estate business. So we were still bringing in money, okay, even though the trucking company failed. So that's just my, let me see if I got anything else here. That's just my 2 cents on what's going on. I want you to know, though, that I've been through it. Okay, I'm not talking to you in a vacuum about this kind of thing. Play to prosper. I will talk to you soon.